Tonight, we are focusing on leadership, collaboration, and how our next council member will support small businesses, communities, and creative voices in South Seattle.
I see strength, resilience, and I see potential. But I also see suffering. I see neighbors take price out of the communities they help build. I see families holding on by a thread while rents climb higher and wages stay the same. I see more folks sleeping on our streets while luxury units sit empty. I see a city government that still works just fine for the wealthy, the well-connected, while the rest of us are told we are turned. This is not a crisis of resources, it's a crisis of priorities. The Seattleites came up through the trades. We need housing for people, not for profit. On average, there's a vehicle strike with the train every month in the Rainier Valley.
And when I think about that as a kid, that's what I want to do for Seattle today, right? That's the kind of neighborhoods that I would love to have in Seattle. And like Jamie said, a lot of that cannot happen because people are being priced out. One of the things, it's not going to solve gun violence. It's not going to solve the world's issues, but giving a range of a safe part to it. That is incredibly important to me to give these kids, especially these young Black and brown kids, something else to do besides turn to the streets.
And we see the driving influence of big money in politics at the nationwide level. They provided this enormous tax cut to most wealthy.
I understand the plight of small business owners personally as they struggle, some successes, lots of wins, lots of joy, full moments of coming after school to the restaurant and hanging outside aunties and pulling wontons and snapping snow peas and regularly meeting the regular customers that would come through the door. I started a restaurant coalition called Seattle Restaurants United, where I advocated for 250 restaurant and bar owners around Washington State, most of which were in the Seattle area. We did change policy really quickly, getting free outdoor street permitting so that people could eat safely outdoors. We got capped delivery fees at 5% because predatory delivery are charging mom-and-poppers is 30% to deliver food when the average profit margin is 6% in Seattle. And we required proof of vaccination to dine indoors to keep our workers safe because they were getting sick at alarming rates.
And unfortunately, our small businesses are suffering from things that are city failures. Our city failure to address homelessness, our city failure to address drug addiction and mental health needs. And this is supposed to be a department that is supposed to be equal to the fire department and the police department. We really need to double down on the root causes, getting people the services and the help they need. And then, again, we need to tax wealthy corporations.
King County has a program law enforcement assisted diversion in Cody, which actually offer an opportunity for folks below level crimes, sort of more of the small time burglaries and nuisance crimes, a path to recovery, right? And the reality is we're already spending money. We're spending the money on sweeps. If we took that money and spent on sweeps, actually provided services, the dignified thing and the humane thing, we'd be in a much different place. The folks that are closest to the work often have the best ideas and solutions to that. And when we let the decisions be made by managers and executives and don't engage with the workers doing the work, we end up with block that decisions. So it's real important that we're engaging with folks throughout the process.
All right, cool. So I'll keep it super quick. Bringing people together, different groups, different areas. Working in the CD, just kind of from the background that I come from, being from down here. We're going through this project that we're Brad Stock. We're doing a really big construction project on 23rd neighborhood, going through gentrification, a contractor coming in, trying to bring folks in on their community workforce agreement. And so what I did, I used my connections through the communities, through the churches, to first get the churches together to talk about the project that was going to impact the historically Black neighborhood, to get their input. And then second, working with Esther Willis and Seattle Vocational Institute, which is closed, but to go to SBI and get folks to actually, literally from the neighborhood that look like a neighborhood on those projects.
Why don't we talk about how many people we have? Why don't we talk about that instead of students?
I'm over here because I feel like working class people or small business owners aren't being heard and don't have a seat at the current table. I'm here to open the door so that all of us have a seat.
But how we get on the campaign trail, is the best indicator of how we're going to behave once we're in office.
Just straight up accountability.
Nothing to us without us, right? If we're passing laws, if we're writing legislation, the folks that are impacted by it need to be involved in that decision making.
We need these spaces occupied because right now what these corporations are doing, they're getting a tax break from these losses. They're not even actually trying to fill these spaces. Is there a way that we could work with developers to say, maybe there's an extra incentive if you have affordable commercial leasing spaces available?
Small businesses really, and provide so much to our community. Like they really kind of are these like cultural anchors, restaurants and other small businesses. Particularly, I know that folks are really struggling.
Yeah, I was just talking about your small businesses in Columbia City yesterday. They were talking about utility costs. And I think we all know how expensive utilities are in Seattle.
And the businesses say, we need relief. We need relief. What does the city say? We can't do that. It's a gift of public funds. But we've got examples. We've got examples down on the waterfront where we gave those businesses money.
We had a landlord that was overcharged us on utilities. So we organized as tenants and pushed back against that.
I have to downplay that to be all serious. I'm not a DJ and skateboarder, but I run for city council. Marshall Place, internationally known as one of the coolest, best DIY skate parks in the city. So that's just one way of thinking about it, looking at spaces and looking at our urban landscape of how we can engage with the landscape. Well, guess what? There's really no bus service actually at 2 o'clock in the morning. So they have to drive in, and they drive in, and they have to pay for parking right up front. And then
It helps our curiosity, it helps our innovation and bold thinking for solutions. And it brings joy. And it needs to be invested in.
And unfortunately, artists are getting pushed out of Seattle. And I think we need to recognize the value of art, in policy, right? And then we can activate spaces, the benefits of arts around mental health. Jimmy, real quick, you get it in there.
Yeah, when I went to Seattle 30 years ago, I fell in love with really the art scene and artist lofts, and lived in a number of artist lofts from Belltown, Capitol Hill to the CID.
So one of the things that I love about veto tax is provide an exemption or the proposal by Councilmember Rank and Carroll is that there's an exemption for small businesses for the first $2 million in revenue, and then but it taxes the largest businesses the most. So it's bringing in $90 million, much needed revenue to support our community.
And I think it's exactly the policy that we need, that we're talking about for this revenue supporting small businesses. Yeah. And I really also appreciate that the funds are being fairly directed so that because we know we're going to see budget cuts next year, these have the federal aid. And so we're really making sure that we're protecting social service programs, which we all benefit from.
Public health regulations meant for restaurants are being applied to small coastal businesses. For example, some can't even give away a free cup of coffee without major permit expenses.
And one of the challenges that the DOT enforces, because it's in the right of way, it's a staffing issue. They don't have enough folks to go around and enforce the vending in various places.
There's the code, there's the reality, and we really need to get to the intent of the code, and where Council's saying is that we can get people to solutions that are.
I did not know you could not give out free coffee at community-based organizations. I think that is ridiculous.
It shouldn't take hiring a lawyer to figure out how to do that without coffee, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm in full support of this. My friend Kathleen Warren is one of the founders of Urban Art Walks, which is an organization that works with you to paint walls that usually get tagged around the city.
I also think that we can't always just rely on criminalization as our one tool that we're always going to go to, because it's just not effective, it's not efficient.
And I want to recognize some creativity and give them some space for that. But at the same time, do your business, and you got to be out there getting your business.
And that's what a lot of these artists want. They take advantage of the space and they see and they want respect from the other groups. That's how this works. Some of these kids are straight up artists and they're looking for places to express their art and having places for them to do this.
Well, for me, it's really solidarity, right? It's about standing in this community and supporting each other and taking care of folks, and that is, picking folks up when they've fallen down.
I would want to bring are integrity, transparency, valuing the voices and needs of the most marginalized.
We recognize that, heat is actually one of the main fatalities of climate change. It's not as visible.
But I think one thing that gives me pause is that we declared homelessness to be an emergency a decade ago, and we still haven't solved it.
Another thing that's really critical is preparing education and preparing our community for, if there's going to be a major earthquake or some other natural disaster. So that, neighbors can take care of neighbors. And there are community groups that are working on this, but we need to make sure that we support that work.
So I would just ensure that Office of Economic Development is doing and keep doing that outreach, and that they have the tools that they need, in addition to all of the other things I referenced earlier.
And so expanding that in our construction projects. And so we do have, it's a $1.55 billion transportation levy for these big projects that come through, is really beefing up the community liaison project, because what everybody's talking about is program the city currently does have. I don't know how scaled it is, but we can scale that up.
The first thing that I did was reach out to our 250 members and sent them their Know Your Rights to ensure that they were keeping their workers safe. I personally took our cook from Venezuela to Personal Courthouse here and to make sure that she was safe and she exited safely with us. We encircled her to ensure that that was happening.
We need a positive vision to push back against the hate of Trump and the Republican Party. Yes, I'm the son of an immigrant, and we've seen this in the past. 150 or years ago, Chinese immigrants were invited to come here to work on the railroads, and then when they finished working on the railroads, mobs drove them out of Chinatown, Seattle, and Tacoma. We need to stand in solidarity with our immigrant communities. We need to be very careful about data protection. We need to have funding for immigration defense.
My nephew's father was deported, and I'll say that this was 25 years ago. So this boy that grew up without a father, he just worked in Brazil, and really just like how harmful that is to people's lives and how destructive. Chuck Schumer was just standing up for people. It's about solidarity. It's about standing together as a community. We are so much stronger together.